Nobody truly knows how World War III would begin. It could start with a missile launch, a cyberattack, a naval clash, or even a single mistake between two nuclear powers. But one thing is certain. If World War III begins, the entire planet changes overnight. Global trade collapses, airspace shuts down, internet systems become targets, financial markets crash, and within hours, millions of people could be pulled into the biggest conflict in human history. So what would actually happen if World War III started tomorrow? Let's find out. The first signs would likely appear before any official declaration of war. Modern warfare moves too fast for traditional announcements. Instead, countries would begin with cyberattacks. Power grids could fail, banking systems might stop working, communication networks could be disrupted. Hackers linked to military organizations would target satellites, airports, military databases, and energy systems. In modern war, information is just as important as missiles. Then comes the military response. Within minutes, fighter jets would scramble into the air. Warships would move into strategic positions. Missile defense systems would activate. And intelligence satellites would begin tracking troop movements across the globe. Unlike past world wars, this conflict would not remain limited to land, sea, and air. It would also include cyberspace and outer space. Satellites could become some of the first targets. Because destroying enemy communication and surveillance systems creates a major advantage. Without satellites, navigation systems, military coordination, internet services, and even civilian communications could become unstable. Then the first conventional strikes would begin. Military bases, radar systems, air defense sites, command centers, fuel depots. Countries would attempt to weaken enemy infrastructure before large-scale invasions even begin. And unlike older wars, hypersonic weapons could play a major role. These missiles travel at extreme speeds and are difficult to intercept. That means governments would have less time to react, increasing pressure and panic. Now imagine the psychological impact. Social media would explode with rumors, fear, and misinformation. People would rush to stores. Banks could limit withdrawals. Fuel prices would skyrocket. Flights would be cancelled worldwide. And millions of civilians would suddenly realize how fragile modern life really is. But the most dangerous moment comes next. Nuclear escalation. This is the scenario the world fears most. Many nuclear powers maintain weapons on high alert status. That means decisions could be made within minutes. If one side believes a nuclear strike is coming, leaders may feel pressure to launch before being attacked. This creates an extremely dangerous situation. Because in high-pressure moments, even small misunderstandings can trigger catastrophic consequences. A false radar signal, a communication failure, or incorrect intelligence. History has already shown how close humanity has come to accidental nuclear war multiple times. And during a global conflict, those risks become even greater. Now let's talk about alliances. World War III would likely involve major military alliances pulling multiple nations into conflict very quickly. If one major power is attacked, allied nations may immediately respond. This means regional conflicts could rapidly become global wars. Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and the Pacific could all become active theaters simultaneously. Naval warfare would also become critical. Aircraft carriers, submarines, and destroyers would battle for control of important sea routes. Why? Because global trade depends heavily on maritime shipping. And if shipping lanes are blocked, economies suffer almost instantly. Food shortages could begin in some regions within weeks. Energy supplies would become unstable. Factories could stop operating. The economic damage alone would be enormous. But modern warfare is no longer only about military strength. Artificial intelligence would likely play a massive role. AI systems could help analyze battlefield data, identify threats, and coordinate drone operations faster than humans. Autonomous drones may swarm battle zones. Cyber AI could attack enemy systems automatically. Future warfare could become partially machine-driven. And that possibility is deeply unsettling. Because machines react faster than humans. But they don't understand consequences the same way humans do. Now imagine cities during such a conflict. Air raid sirens, military checkpoints, internet restrictions, emergency broadcasts, governments imposing wartime controls. Daily life would transform rapidly. And civilians would carry the psychological burden of uncertainty every single day. But perhaps the biggest impact would be global instability. Even countries not directly involved would feel the effects. Financial markets would collapse. International travel would shrink dramatically. Supply chains would break. Oil and gas prices could reach extreme levels. The world economy is deeply connected, and large-scale war between major powers would affect nearly everyone on Earth. Now here's the important question. Could humanity survive World War III? The answer depends on one thing: whether nuclear weapons are used extensively. A large-scale nuclear exchange could cause destruction far beyond the battlefield. Scientists warn about the possibility of nuclear winter, a scenario where smoke and debris block sunlight, damaging agriculture and global food production. In other words, the consequences could last for years. This is exactly why nuclear deterrence exists. The fear of mutual destruction is supposed to prevent world powers from going too far. And so far, it has worked. But as technology evolves and geopolitical tensions rise, maintaining that balance becomes more difficult. Especially in a world filled with cyberwarfare, hypersonic weapons, AI systems, and growing mistrust between nations. The truth is, no one wins a world war. Even the strongest countries would suffer massive losses. Economically, militarily, and psychologically, modern warfare has become so destructive that victory itself becomes questionable. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson humanity has learned since the last world wars. The cost of global conflict is simply too high. So while military technology becomes more advanced every year, the real challenge for world leaders is not building stronger weapons. It's preventing those weapons from ever being used. Because if World War III starts tomorrow, the world after it may never look the same again.